This one's from Destroy a Guy, 1995. Who is your favorite villain kaiju?
It's got to be Hedorah. I adore Hedorah. Besides it being one of my favorite Godzilla movies, I think that Hedorah is just a really interesting villain. I like how Hedorah is an actual threat to humanity, and how a lot of the dynamics in that film are people running away because if Hedorah flies over them, they'll get injured or harmed. And I think that really kind of adds to the tension. But even then, Hedorah is just a really interesting villain. The idea of tying pollution, which is a very important message, I think, of combating pollution, and to basically make that into something like how Godzilla is the embodiment of nuclear devastation. To kind of do that with a villain is a really clever way of going about it. So that's why Hedorah is my personal favorite villain.
Okay. This one is from RJ6759. Outside of horror movies, what other films do you make?
Yeah, so I've made a post-apocalyptic movie called The Foxhole. I've done science fiction with Lost in the Suburbs and Another Day Closer to the Sun. I made a baseball movie called Career Minor Leaguer, and we were going to film it this summer, but we're pushing it back to next year. We were going to make a John Wick-style action comedy called The Gang Stalkers, and so mainly I've been kind of in like a horror kick, but I do make other movies for sure. I've done westerns like The Ghost and the Gunslinger. I did a robbery, like heist-type movie called Bank. So, yeah, all over the board.
Okay. This one's from Dino Dom. Who's your favorite YouTubers?
I watch right now. Let me kind of go through my YouTube app so I could see who I'm watching the most. Oni Plays is a big one. I always have Oni Plays on whenever I'm like editing videos. Pyrocynical, I watch a lot of. I love his longer videos. His Utopia video is fantastic.
Yeah.
Man, I just got to go through. A lot of music videos, though, is what I like to watch the most. And filmmaking stuff. I like Blame It on Jorge, or Blame It on George. He kind of says both in his videos. He does like Lost Media type stuff. Red Letter Media is one of my favorites as well. And Karsten Runquist, who does a lot of like film, cinephile type stuff. In regards to Godzilla stuff, I really like Up From the Depths. He hasn't been uploading a ton lately, but his big Godzilla series review thing is really well put together. I also like Monster Island Buddies, and of course I got to mention Cinemassacre, who did Cinemassacre's Monster Madness, Angry Video Game Nerd. He's a legend. So those are the ones that I watch.
Okay. Those are all the written fan questions. Now we're gonna get to the questions I personally wrote.
Sure.
So what got you into Godzilla?
So for me, it's a bunch of different things. One of them is my grandpa. My grandpa, who is now passed on, he was really into old monster movies in general, but for me, Godzilla just always stuck with me. I don't really know why. And so we would watch TNT's Monster Vision on TV, and we'd marathon those. And another factor would be Godzilla Unleashed on the Wii, and then the other one would be Godzilla 1998 on VHS. That was the only Godzilla movie that we owned, and so for me it was just really cool. And there's kind of this air of like, I shouldn't be watching this, because my dad, I was maybe like 3 or 4, my dad was like, this movie's really scary, don't watch it. And to me that just made it all the more mysterious. And while it isn't that great of a movie, it's still one that I am very, like, it's really personal to me for that very reason. But yeah, so my grandpa, Godzilla Unleashed, and then the 1998 Godzilla movie on VHS.
Okay. What are your thoughts on analog horror?
I think that analog horror is in a very interesting place right now. It's kind of going the way of creepypastas, for better or for worse. To me, at least, I think that it has the potential to be incredible. And we've seen it reach that potential with series like Mandela Catalog, Gemini Home Entertainment, and I think that right now we're sort of stuck in this rut of analog horror being very centered around pre-existing IPs. So there's like a Batman analog horror, there's a lot of Godzilla ones, and I'm not saying that's a good or bad thing, but I think that it's slowly becoming something that creepypastas started to do around that time, which was, it's this property like Bart, Simpson, where he dies in this fictional episode, or the Mickey Mouse one where Mickey Mouse was killed off in this animation, and it's basically just take an IP, make it scary, and that's kind of what a lot of people are doing right now. And I feel like we're going to start to see more innovation, but it's going to gradually become more and more niche. I love analog horror. I think it's a wonderful medium to tell a story, but it's just becoming very oversaturated with slop. And I mean that as, it's very easy to make it so everyone's trying to kind of cash in on the craze. And really, it's hard to find the really good ones out there, in my opinion.
Okay. What are your thoughts on the Godzilla analog horror, The Man in the Suit?
I covered that series on my channel, and I really like it. I know that it's kind of controversial for some people. It's kind of a you love it or you hate it type of situation. For me, I think that making it more of a behind-the-scenes thing works really well. The biggest issue that I had with it in my video was the presentation, how similar it was to Mandela Catalog, and how I would love to see more live-action segments, and to make it less of a Mandela Catalog type of clone with its presentation. But beyond that, I think that the way they go about it is really interesting, and it's very clear that they are big fans of the franchise. So I fully support Man in the Suit as a series. I think it's wonderful.
Okay. Who is your favorite Godzilla character?
Besides Hedorah, since I kind of already went on that little ramble, I'm going to go with beyond Godzilla, too, because, Godzilla is just a fantastic character all around. I'm going to go with Titanosaurus from Terror of Mechagodzilla, because Titanosaurus, to me, is such a tragic figure when you really think about it. It is this peaceful dinosaur that just basically wants to be left alone. And it's being mind-controlled and tortured with the sonar rays, and it has to go through all this hassle, and, it's harmed constantly. But beyond that, it's just a really interesting design. I love the roar. It might very well be my favorite roar of any monster outside of even like tokusatsu, kaiju stuff. It's such an interesting sound. It's like a trumpet. I know that it was reused from some Ultraman series, or a monster or whatever, but I love just the appearance of it. I love how the tail opens up and causes those kind of like windstorms. It's just a very creative and interesting monster.
Okay. Is there any other kaiju franchises you take a liking to?
Yeah, I love Gamera. I love the original run of Ultraman and pretty much all the way through Leo, I think. It's not like I hate the newer Ultraman stuff. It's more just like I'm unfamiliar with it, and I don't really have an opinion on it. A lot of it's just because I grew up watching the original series, and so for me, I just haven't really gotten a chance to actually get too into it. But beyond, those are kind of like the big three, along with, King Kong. I really like the host. Cloverfield is great, even though I think that 10 Cloverfield Lane is the best one, and that's kind of independent of the other movies. It's kind of the outlier, but yeah, I'd say those are kind of the big ones. I also I don't know if it counts as kaiju stuff, but I like building Gundams, even though that's more like kind of giant robots, but I like building those, and Evangelion is also one of my favorite anime, so that's up there too.
Okay. What's your favorite film genre?
I feel like it's easy to say kaiju, tokusatsu, because it is at the end of the day. I'm going to go a little bit out there, though, and kind of go outside of that. And for me, I love watching cosmic horror movies. So anything that's kind of like Prince of Darkness, maybe even like The Thing, movies where it has that sort of like Lovecraftian vibe to it. My favorite one, though, out of that sort of genre is The Void from 2016, which I'm going to be making a video on that soon. And yeah, I just think that it really opens the door to really out there kind of horror, and that's also part of the reason why I really wanted to like the third film in the Godzilla anime trilogy, because apparently, like when I saw the trailer, I'm like, ooh, Ghidorah looks like some Lovecraftian cosmic horror type thing, and that was just a massive letdown.
Okay. So people who are watching the stream, we're about to go into more fan questions. So if you have any, start commenting them and we'll go over them. This is probably the last question that I personally have that I can think of.
Sure.
So, do you have a Godzilla collection?
I do. I made an hour and a half long video going over the ungodly amount of action figures that I own. It's way too much. The more I think about it, the more it's like I'm almost like a hoarder when it comes to Godzilla stuff. So I do, yeah. It's a massive collection.
Okay. Um, what's your opinion on Godzilla 1984?
The movie I think has some really solid moments, but it's one of those where watching Godzilla 84, it for me at least, it's kind of a chore. It is very kind of messy with its pacing, and I don't know. I think the design is kind of meh. I don't like the cross-eyed. I know that was more of a technical issue, but going beyond that, it's just one of those things where it's a solid movie, but it's one that I don't like to rewatch just because it doesn't have that rewatchability that a lot of the other Godzilla movies have.
Okay. Um, this one's from Seth. What's your opinions on Shin Godzilla?
I love Shin Godzilla. I vividly remember seeing the first trailer and being so hyped. I remember the very first teaser trailer was kind of this like it almost looked like found footage, and that got me really excited. But then once more trailers started coming out, I was so hyped for it. And I was about 14 when that movie came out, and as soon as it's one of those few instances where the movie lived up to the hype, where after it was over, I was just like, this was one of the greatest movie theater experiences I've ever had in my entire life, and I still think that it holds up really well. This was my introduction to Hideki Anno as a filmmaker, as an auteur. So for me, it was one of those things where it was like, oh my god, I need to look into Evangelion now because that's what kind of got me into that. But I love everything about it. It feels like such a love letter to the franchise while being its own thing and taking some massive risks. Having Godzilla evolve into all these different forms makes him even more terrifying and unpredictable. I also love how procedural everything feels with the human elements of it. It isn't like your normal. We have this guy named Ford Brody that we're going to follow for the entire movie and cut away from the action. A lot of it is very focused on Godzilla. I don't think characters ever have a conversation that doesn't center around Godzilla, and that's what I like in the human stories.
Okay. This one's from Dominic the Cat. What is your top 10 favorite dinosaurs?
Oh man, top 10. Well, my favorite is the Utah Raptor. As a kid, I always loved the Utah Raptor ever since seeing it in like a Walking with Dinosaurs episode, or maybe it was just some like documentary. I'm not too sure. I'm really bad with pronunciation, so I'll do my best here. But the Theranzinosaurus was also one of my favorites. The Milwaukee Public Museum had a really neat Theranzinosaurus kind of like setup, and I always thought it was just so cool. I loved looking at it. It's kind of a basic answer too, but I'm going to go with T-Rex for number 3. God, number 4. Gotta think for a second here. It's been a minute since I've really thought about dinosaurs. Oh, number 4, I'm gonna go with Elasmosaurus. I'll give you my top 5, so I can just kind of like keep it simple. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Triceratops for number 5. That was my brother's favorite, and so nothing beats, even though it's not at all. It's more like in fiction, but nothing beats seeing a good old classic T-Rex Triceratops battle on TV. In older movies with stop motion. So probably those two, just because as a kid I would always root for the T-Rex, and my brother would always root for the Triceratops. So that's my top 5. So Utah Raptor, Theranzinosaurus, T-Rex. Oh God, what did I say for 4? I don't remember.
Me neither.
Oh God. Okay. Anyways, yeah. So then we'll go with and then number 5. The Triceratops. So. Oh, 4 was Elasmosaurus.
Oh, okay. This was from Kaiju's on 93. Best Millennium Era film.
GMK is the one where it's like objectively the best. It's the most well put together. It has the best structure. It has some of the best suit designs and the best cinematography and the writing. But the one that I've watched the most and the one that I have so much nostalgia for is Godzilla Final Wars, which is kind of a hot take, I feel, since there are some really good movies in the Millennium Era. But for me, Final Wars embodies everything that I love about the Godzilla franchise. It can be corny, it can be serious when it needs to. The human characters are just wonderful. Every scene is extremely entertaining to me. It's one of those movies where you could put it on for a group of friends who don't know anything about Godzilla, and they would love it.
Okay. That's all the questions people have, unless they post some more.
All right.
But I wanted to say this. Thanks for coming on this.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I'm always down to collab or be interviewed or whatever. People just got to ask, and I'm more than willing to do it. I think it's a lot of fun. I love doing stuff like this. It's really cool. You're the first person that's ever interviewed me. I've interviewed other people before.
Yeah.
But this is a really cool opportunity. So thank you for asking if I could come on, because I genuinely appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. I've been watching you for a little while, and then I've also interviewed other people. I was like, you know what, might as well try it. So I did.
Yeah.
And it worked. So.
Yeah, I appreciate you asking. I'm open to collaborating with anyone. I don't really care about what it is what it is. I'm excited. So. But yeah. I do have my eye on chat, by the way. I have it open in another tab, so.
Okay.
Yeah. If you want, I could talk a little bit about that question, but if not, I completely understand.
I didn't want to bring it up, but if you want to, go ahead.
I mean, I saw it in chat. It's okay. I don't want to hijack the interview or anything. That video, I could just talk very briefly about it. The Godzilla Degenerates video I made, not for attention or anything. The only thing I wanted to do was just to show people that there are some really bad people in the fandom, and that I wanted to bring attention to that aspect of it. And with a specific person that was mentioned in chat, all I'm going to say is that there were other videos made about them that I had taken note of, and I wanted to kind of just spotlight those, since those were from smaller channels, and I wanted to kind of bring those stories up. And so that was basically it, was just kind of spotlighting stuff that I had already heard, getting receipts on those, and then going from there. So.
Okay. I never saw that video, so I didn't know how you
yeah, you're all good. You're
all
all
resulted with it. So,
yeah, I hate drama videos,
Yeah.
So.
Dominic does ask, favorite indie horror game?
Ooh. Faith is what I've been playing a lot of lately. I'm going to check out my Steam library and just kind of see what I've been playing. Yeah, Faith is one that I've been playing a lot of. The sort of Atari-styled, not I think it would be 8-bit, I'm not too sure, but it's this priest who has to go and take care of this sort of like exorcism, and it's really well put together, I think. I'm a big fan of the mood and atmosphere. The music is so good. Iron Lung I'm a big fan of. I've been meaning to get into the guy that made Iron Lung. I've been meaning to get into more of his sort of work. I own all of his games on Steam, because there was like a bundle pack where if you bought all of his games it'd be like cheaper, so I just ended up doing that. But yeah, I'm kind of just looking through here. Those are kind of the main ones that I've been playing a lot of. There's one that I've been playing on my PS5, but I can't remember the name of it. It's like Night at... Oh, gosh. Something like Night at the Gates of Dawn or whatever, and it's this really fun throwback kind of like PS1 era type of like zombie shoot 'em up, and that's really great too. So I've been kind of into that. But beyond that, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
Okay. Seth asks, what do you prefer more, Godzilla -1 or Shin Godzilla?
To me, it's hard to compare them, because with -1, you're getting more of a character-focused story, whereas with Shin Godzilla, you're getting more of a Godzilla-focused story. Shin Godzilla is more of a Godzilla-focused story, and so when you compare the two, how with -1, the characters in that film, they're actually characters. They're very well written. They're three-dimensional, and everything about them it's I would argue is the best human story in any Godzilla movie. But with Shin Godzilla, it's like totally the opposite of one. Is way more Godzilla related. The human characters are basically just like ways to progress the plot, but that's okay, because the main focus is on Godzilla and dealing with it, and it's more of a critique or a satire of the Japanese government and bureaucracy. So But I guess the one that I prefer to put on, I would say -1 is more accessible. I could see myself putting that one on, just whenever. But Shin Godzilla is definitely one that I got to be more kind of in the mood for. And but yes, I guess I'll say -1, even though I do love both of them pretty much the same. It's just more of a preference at this point.
Okay. Um, what music genre do you generally listen to?
I like to think that I'm somewhat eclectic with my music taste, but as of right now, a lot of 70s, 80s, and 90s rock has been what I've been listening to a lot. Let me check my Spotify. The last song I was listening to was "No Sleep Till Brooklyn" by the Beastie Boys. So I did
Okay.
just watch Guardians of the Galaxy 3 again. So for me, that was just had to listen to that. But I also love some country. I love Luke Combs, Zach Bryan. So my most recent concert that I've been to was Limp Bizkit, which they're more new metal. So it's kind of all over the place. Yeah, my favorite bands right now, Ghost for sure. I mean, like if you see my videos, I wear a Ghost shirt in almost every single one. And Def Leppard is up there. And for the third one, we'll go with King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard.
Okay. I like lizards. They're kind of cool. Um, thoughts on Marvel Godzilla?
My buddy collects those comics. Assuming you're talking about the ones from like way back in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my buddy, he collects those, and he has I think every single issue, if I remember correctly. And he gave me one of his to read, and I liked what it put forward. I just haven't really delved too deep into it, but yeah, design wise, kind of cool. I kind of like the potbelly look. It's fun. Not exactly Godzilla-esque. It's way more dinosaur-esque, but I like it.
Okay. Um, so you said that you like Monster Hunt Buddies, correct?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
I like more of
nine.
his modern stuff than the actual like the old episodes.
Yeah.
To me, I just couldn't really get into them because I didn't really watch them when I was a kid. I like his reviews though.
Okay. But
Yeah,
but did you ever like actually watch the series at least a couple episodes?
yeah. I've seen a couple episodes. I got to look them up really quick, but the one that I remember liking was we'll go oldest here because I remember it was Godzilla versus Poverty. I thought was really funny. Episode 22.
Okay.
When I was
Nine.
when I was going through and doing my research for my Godzilla, YouTube stuff from way back in the day when I was making that video, that video made me laugh my ass off. So, yeah.
Okay. Nine. There's your answer. Um, play Uptown Girl. No, I'm good. Uh, y'all don't really have any questions, do you? Just gonna wait, maybe.
Yeah, it's all good.
Again, I gotta turn this into a video at a certain time. Favorite Spider-Man live-action film?
Spider-Man 2 with Tobey Maguire. That's kind of the go-to, I think. One I do think is extremely quotable though, just because I've seen it so many times as a kid. I'm not a big fan of the Andrew Garfield ones, and the Tom Holland ones are okay. But yeah, for me, I really like Spider-Man 2. I just love everything that it has to say about Spider-Man as a character. I love how it challenges him. I think that Doc Ock is an incredible villain, played expertly by Alfred Molina. So yeah, that's my go-to pick, Spider-Man 2.
Okay. Um, what is your favorite Bandai movie monster series figure?
I'm gonna go with Titanosaurus. That's the 2002 one. I guess also the reissue since it's the exact same mold. Love the detail on it. The paint job is wonderful. To me, that was always my holy grail of sorts, where I was always hunting for it because it was so expensive for years. Where that was just one where I wanted it so badly as a kid and I never really got it. But I did see it on eBay one time. I almost pulled the trigger. It was $200 with a Mechagodzilla figure. I didn't get it, but eventually they did the reissue and I got it for like I think it was I paid 50 for it on eBay, which was still still overpriced, but it is what it is. So, yeah, it's my favorite figure for sure. I kind of have this shelf up in my room where I joke with my friends, I say it's the Hall of Fame shelf where it's all the best figures that I own. And ironically enough, it's almost all Showa era monsters. But Titanosaurus is up there, along with Mechagodzilla, the 74 one. Or no, 75, sorry. It was the Mechagodzilla 2. And then, my Megalon, my Gigan. So, yeah. I have such a liking for all the Showa era ones. But the Titanosaurus figure is just incredible.
Okay. Will you do a 15,000 sub special?
Did we hit it? Wait.
Well, you're near it, but
Am I? Oh, sorry. I'm like, I don't know if I hit it or not. Probably not. I'm not too sure. I did the 10,000 sub special, and I did a 500 sub special way back in the days, like a Q&A. I'm not too sure. I might not. I was thinking maybe as like a stream, but I'm gonna kind of lighten up on streaming in the future. So maybe it would just kind of depend on what's up there with the upload schedule, because I'm starting to do kind of like daily uploads. So if I can fit it into the schedule, perhaps. I just don't know when I'm gonna hit it.
okay. Who would win? Base Final Wars Godzilla or base Monster vs. Godzilla?
Oh man, I couldn't tell you. I don't really do any of the discussions of who would win. Well, I'll say, oh man, I don't know. Maybe Final Wars, because that seems kind of fun. I like that movie, but I'm like a boomer when it comes to these discussions of who would win against each other. It's not really my cup of tea, but at the same time, I understand why people do the arguments. So, for the sake of it, I'll throw my hat into the ring. I'll say Final Wars because I like the design more. I don't have any other reason why. That's it.
Okay. Best Ghidorah design?
I love the 91 Ghidorah from Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah. To me, that's the peak look of Ghidorah. It's always one of those where when I picture it in my head, that's just kind of what my brain immediately goes to. A lot of that has to do with the fact that the Ghidorah toy that I owned as a kid was the 91 figure, the Bandai one. So that's just where my brain goes to. Sometimes I kind of think like, oh, the Showa one has some interesting moments, but a lot of it has to do with the execution of it as well. The effects are really solid in Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah, so that's why it's my favorite.
Okay. Favorite animal?
Capybara. I've always wanted a capybara, but I live in Wisconsin, so the weather isn't exactly ideal for owning one of those. Close second would be either an otter. Yeah, I think I'm going to go with an otter. Yeah, I was going to say an otter or a bonobo.
Okay. I can't even see what that says. Why do you hate Kiryu the Fire Dragon? Hiryu the Fire Dragon. It's the best movie ever.
Yeah, I hate it because I made it when I was 11. It was so bad. So a lot of that video of me kind of ripping on that just came from me being like, okay, I don't want to seem like I'm tooting my own horn. I mean, I am kind of embarrassed by it, but it's one of those where I just wanted to get it out there and, kind of make a funny video about it. So I am doing a remake of Hiryu the Fire Dragon, though. We did a full-on like concept art. I hired this artist to put it together. So I should probably explain what it is really quick. You might be a bit confused. I don't know.
Yeah.
So when I was 11 years old, I made this short stop-motion film called Hiryu the Fire Dragon, where this giant monster known as Hiryu that was built... It's this claymation figure that was built out of, like, Lego Bionicle parts, and then I put clay over it. It starts out where it's in, like, Arizona, and then it destroys these tanks, and then it attacks some other city, and then it fights an Elasmosaurus, and then it fights another monster, and then he gets beheaded, and then at the end, as this like end credit thing, he grows wings and flies away, and it's really stupid, because I made it when I was 11, but I made a video on it on my channel making fun of the movie, So the gist of Hiryu the Fire Dragon is that I'm gonna work on a remake since there seemed to be a little bit of a demand for it. Hired a concept artist to put it together. I can actually send it to you after this if you're interested, and I can just show you. I might actually just have it on me right now. But the gist of it is that it's supposed to be this sort of modernized remake, and part of it is it's going to be in Blender, but then other parts are going to be stop motion, a little bit of suitmation, puppetry. It's going to be this big project that I've been working on. So, yeah, that is Hiryu the Fire Dragon.
Okay. Would you make a sequel or prequel to your Monster ARG?
I think he might be talking about my um, a town called Whitewater. I think that's the analog horror that I put out. I believe that's what he's talking about. I'm gonna assume that because I haven't really done any like ARGs, but yeah. So I made a town called Whitewater a year ago, and the plan was, if you look it up, the original title was A Town Called Whitewater Volume One, and with that, it's about this cult where they end up summoning this eldritch, Lovecraftian kaiju named Eternum, and it wipes out the town at the end of the movie or the season, I guess. And I was gonna do Volume Two, which would have been set in. Yeah, okay, so you're talking about A Town Called Whitewater. I'm looking at chat too. So season two would have followed characters in the '60s, and it would have been more of a prequel, with volume three acting as a sequel. So that was kind of the idea. I might still do that. I might not. It more or less depends on how other projects go, since I have a feature film in the works, and then I also have the Hiryu remake in the works. So it's kind of two different things that I got going on, with this kind of taking a back seat. So it's entirely possible, is what I'm saying. Leaning towards yes to maybe.
Okay. Just gonna type that. Okay. Do you like the Hulk movies slash first appearances?
I'm one of the few people that defends the Incredible Hulk. I I actually think that movie's really fun. I love Abomination. I love how he looks in that movie. And one of the things that I've always appreciated about it is how Bruce Banner's kind of on the run. I don't know. As a kid, there's just a lot of like nostalgia, because that was like my favorite movie when I was in like kindergarten. So for me, it was like that was like one of my all-time favorites. I love Hulk. I haven't read a ton of his comics though. That's kind of the thing. I know I probably should. I grew up on the old TV show with Lou Ferrigno from like the '70s. My dad would always put that on. And the Eric Bana Hulk I also liked a lot. A lot of my taste with this stuff is because of my dad, because he loved the Hulk, or he still loves the Hulk, I should say. And so for me, that was just affected by it as well. But yeah, the Eric Bana Hulk I like. I like pretty much all of them. The MCU stuff I'm a little bit iffy on, since they did kind of nerf him a bit, and he hasn't been as interesting. So yeah, I feel like he was at his best in Thor Ragnarok, when we're talking just the MCU Hulk. That shot of him about to fight Surtur, where he jumps through the air and is about to beat him up. I love that. That's like peak Hulk to me, and I just wish that they'd respect that character more, because he's such an interesting character. You could do so much with it. The whole Jekyll and Hyde thing that they've now kind of squandered because they got rid of that aspect of his character. But yeah, he's one of the few Marvel characters, I think at least, where you can make like 10 Hulk movies and it would still be incredible. So, pun intended.
Okay. What is OOTP Baseball 25?
Oh, shoot, I have that on in the background. That's a game that I am addicted to. It is a general manager simulator. How many hours do I have in this thing? Sometimes I'm AFK, which is why it has so many. Like right now, I have it like just open another tab. So it's Out of the Park Baseball 25. Yeah, we're on 25. So for 24, I put 270 hours into it. For 25, I'm at 157 hours. And for 23, I did 113 hours. So it's the most boring game ever when you look at it just based off gameplay alone. It's just like spreadsheets, basically. So the gist of it is you control any baseball team. You can do not just MLB, but you can do foreign leagues like South Korea, Japan. They even have like German baseball, I believe. But I mainly just do American, and I control the Brewers because they're my favorite team. And you just try to like rebuild them or continue making them great through trading and signing players. And you don't actually play the game. I mean, like you can like play the game. I say that in quotations, where you just kind of like watch a simulation of it, and the graphics are really bad. But I like to just put the team together and look at the results at certain, parts in the season. So I have it mainly when I edit videos, just because it's in the background, and if I get bored while editing, I can just kind of simulate a season and see what happens. But Yeah, it's ridiculous how addicted I am to that game because I'm a baseball junkie, and with this, it only makes that addiction even worse.
Okay, because every time you're online, you're playing it. I'm like, okay,
I am. It's sad. It really is.
okay. Um, so you said that you used to do like interviews with people, or
The gist of it is, it used to be filmmakers that I would interview, and I had this podcast that was called Firewood Media Cast. And so for our first interview, we interviewed Woodstock Roadshow. They are these boys from Australia. They're the homies. It started out as like I just reached out to them, and I'm like, hey, can I interview you for my channel? Because they had this feature film that was coming out, and they're like, yeah, of course. So I interviewed the director and the composer, and we just hit it off, and we are really good friends now. Outside of the interviews and whatnot. But that was our first interview, and then I interviewed Zach Menzies, who does a lot of like fan films. I interviewed him actually recently for my Batman video, where I talked about the Batman Harvest Moon, which is a movie that he made. I interviewed Calvin Zimmerman. He made a movie called Wildlife, which has some elements of it that would get a video demonetized. We'll put it that way. And then also Outcast Productions, who made a really good movie called Floating Through Life. So, yeah, those are the interviews that I used to do. I haven't really done that in a minute. I'd like to bring it back. I just am trying to figure out the way to do it. So,
okay, because I was wondering what you meant by
yeah,
the
it was
interview
mainly
thing.
just indie filmmakers. It was before I got into the whole Godzilla niche here on YouTube. It was just when I was just kind of posting whatever I really wanted to post, and it was mainly just my movies and then the occasional review. But yeah, the point of these interviews were to kind of like branch out, but also just to highlight and spotlight other indie filmmakers.
Okay. Um, kind of ran out of questions here. Is there anything you want to say?
I just appreciate you bringing me on here. I really do. It's sorry. That's all I really got to say. I streamed for like 4 hours like 2 days ago, and then like an hour yesterday, and I was just like, I was gonna try streaming even more yesterday, and I was just like burnt out. I ran out of stuff to say, and I took like a 4 hour nap. So I'm just kind of like going through it right now. But
Okay.
it is what it is.
Do you like Godzilla X Kong?
When I first saw it, I thought it was pretty solid. I thought it was a fun sort of schlocky, in the same vein as like some of the lesser Showa era movies, where it's just kind of like turn your brain off and enjoy it type of fun. But the more I watch it, the less and less I like it, unfortunately. I don't really rate movies on my channel, but if I would, I'd say that when I first saw it, I'd say it was about a 6 out of 10. And where I'm at now, I'd say more like a 3 or a 4, just because I didn't like how Godzilla took such a back seat. It felt almost like they had to add him to the movie. It felt more like a Kong movie, and I think if you would have centered it more around Kong, it would have been fantastic. And some of the Hollow Earth stuff I just felt was very off when it comes to scale. Some of those shots in there, it just felt to me like it just. I forgot that they were giant monsters at a certain point. When we're in Scar's lair or Scar King's lair, I was just kind of like, okay, I think like these are just monkeys. They aren't like kaiju-sized beasts. And so to me, that was just something where it was really difficult to kind of wrap my head around because the scale wasn't all there by the filmmakers. And also just the human characters just didn't really do it for me, which I understand. That's just part of the genre, but it's still, or part of what they were going for, I should say. Sorry, where they wanted to have more of a focus on the monsters, but you still have to have at least passable. And to me, it just wasn't really my cup of tea.
Okay. Worst Heisei movie?
Sorry, I was drinking water. I'm gonna go with Godzilla versus Mothra: The Battle for Earth. I think a lot of the fights in that aren't just beam battles are really poorly shot, on par with like the giant condor fight from Godzilla versus the space monster, or Godzilla versus the sea monster. So for me, I just think that a lot of the fights in that are just not great. And Mothra to me just isn't all that interesting as a character. I do like Batra though. Batra's really cool looking, but yeah, to me that might be my least favorite.
Okay. Someone asked, What do you think of the MonsterVerse as a whole?
I think it started out really interesting, and to me, it's one of those where it starts out really serious and then it gets darker and darker. And I prefer when it was more serious. My favorite was Godzilla King of the Monsters. I think that it kind of peaked there, and I wish that it would have maintained that tone. But I think that for the most part, it's solid, but it's starting to kind of get not annoying, but it's starting to kind of like dip in quality to the point where it's almost like I'm not too excited about the next movie, and it's just kind of a thing that exists. I'm more excited for the Toho stuff and to see what they're going to do next, whether it be a -1 sequel or something else entirely. Regardless, I'm more excited for the Toho stuff than the MonsterVerse, but I'll still check it out obviously. But for me, I think that the MonsterVerse started out really strong with Godzilla 2014, and it maintained momentum with Skull Island and King of the Monsters. But Godzilla vs Kong kind of lowered it for me, and now with the new Empire, it's feeling more and more like it wants to be like the MCU rather than adopting its own kind of aesthetics.
Okay. Uh, do you like Doug?
Oh yeah, Doug Sweep. Doug is like an inside joke on the channel where people just spam Doug Sweep because we did a tier list and he was ranked S almost immediately. So, yeah, I love Doug. Doug Sweep all the way.
Okay. Yeah, now I'm out of questions now. There's nothing. Uh, it's kind of all I have, to be honest.
Yeah,
I can't even think of
I did
anything.
see in chat that someone said what feature film, because I did mention that. I could talk a little bit about what I'm working on if you're curious at all, or.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so we have two feature films that are in the works right now. One is called The Gangstalkers, which I kind of hinted at before, and that one is this John Wick type comedy. It's like Superbad meets John Wick. Then the other one is Doppelganger, which is a feature film adaptation of the short film that I put out that went viral in Japan. And so with that one, we're hoping to start filming next month, like late September, and to go into October, but then to quickly have a turnaround time and have it out by Halloween of this year. I haven't actually publicly announced that, so I'm kind of breaking it here. So, yeah, the plan is to literally film a scene in like a day, and then we will edit that scene that same day, have that scene completely finished, and kind of just move really rapidly and try to get it done so that it's out. But we're going to do a lot of practical effects with it. I'd love to do some body horror with it. The script is like almost done. We're just kind of finishing up on that. But yeah, that is the big project that I've been silently working on. It's why I haven't really put out any movies in a minute, because that's the big project. And most of the money that I've made on my channel through sponsorships or ad revenue has gone right into funding this movie. So yeah, it's going to be really, really out there. I'm excited.
Okay. Worst Reiwa era film?
I'm gonna just combine. No, you don't know. I'm gonna say Godzilla City on the Edge of Battle, or whatever it's called. The Mechagodzilla one from the anime trilogy. That one,
Yeah.
I was so disappointed by it. I was actually mad. I watched it. Oh God, how old was I when that came out? I gotta look this up, because this is gonna make me look really bad. Hold on. City on the Edge of.
I think
Right,
it
City
was
on the, yeah,
2018.
28. Okay, I was 16 at the time. Yeah, it's not okay. So I was watching it, and I was so mad. It was like 10 p.m. I woke my mom up, and I was like, I had her listen to me rant about how much I hated it, and which sounds really pathetic, but at the same time, it was just I was 16, but I was still just like, they hyped up Mechagodzilla. He's not even in the movie. I was just so upset. It was one of those where I was just. It ruined my week because I was so excited to see Mechagodzilla, and it was just so disappointing. But yeah, that's the worst Reiwa era film for me.
Okay, that's a valid point. That movie sucked.
Yeah.
I don't really like the anime trilogy as a whole.
Yeah,
It's
no,
not
I'm
that
working
good.
on a video about I think I can't remember what the title is. It's how to fix the anime trilogy, and that's kind of like my pitch videos where I'm going to go over like what I would have done to change it while not changing anything major. It's more just like restructuring the plot, and reworking certain things. But that's kind of one of my upcoming videos. So
Okay. So you went to G Fest this year, right?
yeah, I go every year. Yeah, I love G Fest.
Did you make a community post about it or something?
No, I didn't.
Cause
Yeah, I was like, so here's the thing. I mentioned it, I think, in a video, and then it was like right at the end of the video, and then I checked the YouTube analytics, and it was like 3% of viewers stuck around to hear me talk about that. And I think I mentioned it too in my 10K subscriber Q&A, but again, that video kind of bombed. So, um, it was, yeah, I did not promote it whatsoever, and I genuinely regret not posting more and being like, hey, I'll be at G Fest this year. Um, yeah, I think I'm looking back at my community posts. Yeah, I didn't say anything. I regret doing that. Yeah, I met one person. Well, no, I met 3 people that liked the channel. That got a chance to meet me, and that was really cool. But then one person took a picture with me, so that was also really cool. So yeah, I should have marketed that better. I will be there next year though, so I will be trying to market that a little bit better. And I'll try to be there for all 3 days. So
yeah, because I went to G Fest and I met like Godzilla guy, a whole bunch of other people, and
Yeah.
I didn't know if you were going, so I didn't bring anything, and then I never found you because, well, you didn't say you were going, so.
Right. Yeah, no.
Guess I'll see you there next year.
Yeah, most people just ran into me in the dealer's room, which was really funny because they were like, "Wait, are you?" And the funny thing too is I had just shaved, like I would like shave my beard, so no one recognized me because at the time I still had my long hair and my beard in all my videos, and then I was like clean shaven, I was wearing glasses, and then I had my Firewood Media hat on, so like most people probably wouldn't have even recognized me either. It was just horrible when it comes to optics. I had no idea what I was doing, but
Yeah, I
yeah.
liked the beard.
Thank you. I know. I'm considering growing it back for the feature film because
Do
I
it.
might be playing a character, but yeah,
I think you should,
I might.
in my opinion. I think that's all the questions people have, and also that all I have because I can't think of anything.
Yeah.
Like,
I
legitimately
do see
this time.
one. I think that might be a joke about my channel where someone says thoughts on Skibbity Toilet. I
Give
made
your
a
thoughts on
video.
it.
I made a video praising Skibbity Toilet, and I think that's why it's like an inside joke at this point. Um, so the video is called "This Video is Taking Over YouTube," and I posted it like way before like all the Godzilla stuff like blew up, and
Yeah.
it was basically me saying like praising is a bit heavy-handed. I wasn't really praising, but I was more just saying like, look, it's slop, but it's basically the same stuff that we were watching when we were kids. At least speaking on my behalf, because I watched like SFM videos constantly, whether it be like I think it's called like Thomas the Dank Engine, or like all those were, or no, it's called like Let's Party, something like that. I used to watch all those, and so to me, Skibbity Toilet is just in that same range of like it's just stupid, but it's harmless for the most part. It's quite literally toilet humor, and that was the main point of the video, but people dogged on me for that, so they'll never let that one go. I still stand by that take too.
Okay. Well, this was fun.
Yeah, I genuinely appreciate you having me on. Sorry if I yapped a bit too much. I just I'm excited to talk about this stuff. So
Yeah. Thanks for saying yes, and of course coming on and
oh yeah,
doing all this. I hope you had fun.
I did. I
Try
genuinely
and make it fun.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun. So thank you for having me on, and also I know it may not really be my place, but thank you, chat, for asking some questions. I appreciate it. That's more your job, but I'm just saying I want to thank chat myself. Just so yeah. No, this was a lot of fun. Thank you for having me on.
You're welcome. I hope our paths cross once again, specifically
yeah.
at G Fest, because
Yeah, G Fest would be great. Again, I'm going to be there for sure. Next year. Whether or not it's all 3 days, I don't know, but I'll make sure I post that like a couple months in advance, and then keep posting too, just so people know. But
okay. Thanks again, and
yeah, of course.
later.
Thank you for having me on. Peace out.
Later.